Hey everybody, welcome back to That Car Life. Today we're going to discuss what my opinion is as to how or why the YouTuber's car arrived and broke. So for a little context and a backstory, there's a famous YouTuber who's Lamborghini Gallardo. Took a couple of years, he built it, received it, the car arrived and he was trying to get it off the trailer. He would start it, it would die, and then documented it. And it was all bad. Nothing good came out of that. And so I wanted to give you my take because I essentially the same platform built from the same shop. So one of the things that's going to be important here is what's behind me. What's behind me there that you see is actually from my car. That's a DS1 from Dynaspectrum. It's a data logging record from my own vehicle, and it shows you it shows you pretty much everything: oil pressure, oil temperature, logged real time, and then it is downloaded from the car into the laptop. So that's important because it would tell you the conditions on the day of delivery. And so the shop would have all of that information because the data log would be there. And so I did a video that I'll put up here. It shows the viscosity of a 2050 weight racing oil when it's 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And to the best of my knowledge, it was about 31 degrees Fahrenheit at the time of delivery. It may have been a degree or two cooler. It appears to have been morning. But also a screenshot that I was able to capture from the dash looks like it said 31 degrees Fahrenheit. And so 2050 oil does not flow well at all in that temperature. And since you just saw in the video, it's more like honey at that point. And so there could have been just damage direct from running no oil pressure. There's another screenshot that I'll put up here. That is the engine running at like 2,000 RPM and it's showing 1 bar of oil pressure, which is only like 14 pounds. That's horrible. And if that's even accurate, I don't even know if the gauge went all the way to 0. So my guess is that he was running on no oil pressure. And if it had pressure at that thickness, the amount of pressure inside of the oil pump, for instance, it would be immense. And so it probably blew out the oil pump seals. They're like almost like O-rings, but they're form fit. They're in little grooves, and then you clamp the two pieces of metal together, and it's sandwiched between the two. And from my understanding, those seals are notorious for leaking anyway, regardless of high pressure. And then there's an oil pump on that, or not oil pump. There's a oil filter on the top of that engine for whatever reason. They changed it on the Gen 2 5.2. And if it blew the oil seal out of the filter, it would put oil all over the top of the engine, which in his video, it shows that. So I can put a screenshot there that'll show that. So here's the thing. So as a result of all these different things, a few things could have happened. And I'm not trying to pick sides here, but, I'm also trying to play devil's advocate here. His video very much makes it seem like it's the shop's fault. My history in knowing these cars, sometimes they break. It is what it is. And, you got to be accountable for it. If you have a gauge in your car and it's showing like no oil pressure, I don't know why on earth you would think it'd be okay to run it. But hindsight, he did. Also, those cool computer systems, they have fail safes in them. So I think that's what was going on, is every time he was starting it, the car was seeing no oil pressure and it was killing itself. These cars, even on a factory ECU, they have limp mode. I've broken my transmission a couple of times, and I'm running 1,400 horsepower through it, and it's broken 2 or 3 times, and each time the car went into limp mode. One time it locked me out completely. I couldn't even put the car into neutral. Okay, so these systems are in there for a reason, And so I know from looking at previous videos that that car had a Cybex system in it. And, you know, I also know that it had 2050 weight oil in it because of the way that the custom engine was built. It gets determined by the machine shop typically, depending on how everything goes together, what the oil passages are like, what the use is. I'm not going to get into crazy details, but a boosted, custom built sleeved engine like that, for instance, it would have aftermarket pistons, rods, rings, and the ring gaps on a custom engine are different. They're wider for a reason. When you're running extreme heat and pressure, the gap can close. If the gap closes completely and the two ends touch and they continue to expand, you'll crack or break a ring and you'll end up with smoke. And that car was smoking. So he may have ran it long enough, you know, and if the other thing that can happen is those oil pumps are like notoriously crappy. And so it's possible that the thickness of the oil could have snapped one of the shafts in the oil pump. I don't have any evidence of any. This is all me guessing based on my experience. Like I said, I'm trying to be devil's advocate here because that was a really nasty, I guess I would call it a hit piece on the shop. And something else worth noting here is in this video, the vehicle owner visited the shop and the shop suggested switching to a 5.2 liter engine, stating that it was easier to twin turbo. I think what the YouTuber was alluding to is that it's a better engine. It's more suitable for boosting applications, but for whatever reason, he decided to stick with a 5 liter. I get it. It's sentimental. It sounds different. It sounds amazing. 75-degree block versus a 90-degree block, different firing order. Sounds like an F1 car. I get that. But then you got to be accountable because you made the decision to stick with a 5 liter. And it's not that the 5 liter in and of itself is a bad engine, but when it's in its 550 horsepower state, that's fine. But when you try and bump it to 1200 horsepower, you have problems. That's why they have to build those. The 5.2, you know, they're supposedly good to about 1500. They'll hold together for a period of time, but not forever. I mean, everything, it's not if, it's when. So there's that. The other thing to hit on is the engine tolerances. That also determines the oil that gets used in the car. So a few hundred thousandths could mean the difference between running a 1040 and a 2050. It's not the owner's decision, the car owner's decision of what oil goes in it, but it is their responsibility to know what's in it and maintain it according to the conversation. I guarantee there was a conversation. The conversation would go something along the lines of like, if it's below freezing, don't start the engine. That's it, end of story. The reason that they tell you this stuff too is the car is data logging. It's got a Cybex in it. And so if you lie about what you were doing with it, with the car, the shop's gonna know about it. Yeah, so it's sort of like having a video camera inside your house all the time. So yeah, it's there all the time. So, you know, with all of that information that has come to light, I'm looking at this objectively like, wait a minute. And I encourage you guys to do the same. I mean, there's no way that the shop shipped the car out on purpose and said, yeah, here's your bundle of crud. Something had to have gone wrong. You know, whether the engine oil was too thick or the air temperature was too cold to start the car, because the car tried to protect itself and it couldn't. But anyway, I'm of the opinion that there's not sufficient evidence to blame the shop for this. I think what we actually witnessed was, unfortunately, this guy destroyed his own car in real time and documented it. Anyway, click like, subscribe. Hopefully everybody learned a little bit today. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I kind of have a little bit of experience with all of this stuff. So thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.